Hey everyone, it's Dale, and today's lecture is going to be pretty short, but it's an important one because we're going to be talking about third party software. Many of you may already use some of these platforms in terms of helping clients. I know some of y'all are already doing client work. When you go to an internship or if you want to get a job in this field, you will most definitely be using third party software, and you've already been introduced to a couple of them. So, I showed you Sprout Social. JS Stancil talked about Hootsuite. Those are two of the big players in this. So I'm going to walk you through some of the things that third-party software can help you do, some limitations of some of the systems, and then why people use them and who ends up tending to use them. So when we're talking about third-party software, we're not talking about this type of party or even this type of party, but of course we're talking about actual software or platforms, the third party being something that it is added to the mix. So instead of it being a two-party where it's the user and the platform itself, now we're adding a party, we're adding a platform on top of that. So for instance, if I was just posting directly to Facebook, I wouldn't need a third-party system. But sometimes there are a lot of reasons to look into these types of software platforms because there are a lot of advantages to them, and I'll show you some of those here in just a second. When it comes down to it, really the person who really needs third-party systems or third-party platforms is what we call a power user. This is someone who runs 15 different Twitter accounts and they need a platform to help them manage all that and keep them sane. Or it's someone who runs, 20 different social accounts and they're expected to post to every single platform, and they need some help with time, or they might need data help too. So we'll see some of the advantages here in just a minute. Some of the uses for third-party software, again, one is to manage multiple accounts. So just about any social media manager will need to at some point become familiar with third-party software. There are different options out there. We'll see some of those, but they need to at least know what this is, what it does, and the advantages of it. Two, a lot of third-party software lets you schedule posts. So you can do this directly through Facebook, but Twitter you can't. And so you'd need a third-party software in order to schedule tweets, which comes in very handy for a lot of social media marketers. Again, you can post to different platforms. So through this one system, I could post to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, something along those lines. So you can post to different platforms through these third-party systems. A lot of them do provide either prettier analytics than what you get from the social networks themselves, or some actually do provide advanced analytics. So that's a huge positive in certain situations. And speaking of those analytics, a lot of these third-party systems allow you to generate reports quickly that are very digestible to a client. So in fact, I use a third-party system simply to do reports for clients because all it takes is one click and I've got a month's worth of reports to send out. Whereas if I was doing those by hand, which is how I teach students to do it in the class, it takes a while and you need to know how to do that. But once you get past that point, then we can start generating reports differently. A couple of the big players, probably the two biggest players in this field. One is called Hootsuite, which you may have heard about this before. So Hootsuite for a long time was mainly a Twitter client where you could simply manage a lot of different Twitter accounts. It's since moved on to being able to post to Facebook and Instagram and things along those lines. Some people love, I'll put it this way, the people who use Hootsuite love Hootsuite. I am not one of those people. It's never really clicked with me. There's something about the user experience that it and I just don't get along. But I know the school, for instance, JS Stancil, who runs the school's social media account, he's a power Hootsuite user where they have an advanced subscription and use it for a lot of different purposes. So Hootsuite, again, you can manage multiple accounts. You can post to Twitter. You can post to Facebook through it. You do get analytics. You can do advanced searching, which again you can do through Twitter, but it's all in one platform there, and it's accessible from anywhere because you're just going to hootsuite.com to find that. It is a free system to start, but you can only control a certain amount of accounts there and a certain amount of networks. So if you want anything more than that, you have to become a premium user in order to do so. On the flip side of that, I really prefer TweetDeck, which, as you can probably guess by its title, TweetDeck mainly handles Twitter. In fact, it's owned by Twitter. That's a pretty recent purchase. I think Twitter bought it a year and a half ago. So TweetDeck is Twitter on steroids. So each of these is a column representing a certain thing. I think I have 75 columns on my TweetDeck view, so I control 8 or 9 different Twitter accounts through TweetDeck. And it just makes life so much easier. It's a little bit confusing when you first look at it. Even just seeing this right here on the screen with 4 different columns, you might not quite understand. But once you break it down and actually spend a few minutes using it, TweetDeck can be a lifesaver when it comes to Twitter management. So again, you can schedule tweets through TweetDeck. You can break things down to really minute things. You can do geolocating. So if you wanted to search for specific things that people are talking about in certain neighborhoods, you can do that. So I have targeted keywords through TweetDeck for some clients that I'm looking for people talking about those things in maybe Houston or Austin or New York City, wherever you want. Now, you can't post to Facebook or Instagram through TweetDeck, but when you're talking about using Twitter effectively or managing Twitter accounts, TweetDeck is really my favorite when it comes to that. A couple of other pay options. Spreadfast is an Austin company. We have people working there from our school. It's a paid client-based system where you pay them to use their software. Social Distillery, same thing. Also an Austin company, and it's a paid system. Buffer is a freemium model, meaning you can use it for free, much like Hootsuite. But if you want the advanced options with it, you have to become a premium user. Sprout Social is a paid option, but again, that's the one I mentioned that I use just simply to generate reports. I love the reporting that Sprout Social can do. I'm not so fond of its third-party posting, but I really do like the data side of it and the reporting side of it. And then, like I say there on the screen, there are about 1 million others. There are third-party softwares popping up all the time regarding social. So really, at this point, it's up to the students and us to experiment with a lot of these, figure out the pros and the cons of each one, figure out which one you like best, which one you don't like. Like me with Hootsuite, I'm not a fan, but I found that I really love TweetDeck. So it's all about experimentation and at least knowing what these things are about. And I'm going to go ahead and end it there because Lucy's about to start playing with her toys.